would like to welcome you to the Reshape Adventure. It's a gathering of adventure tourism service providers and tour operators from all over Bosnia and Herzegovina. And although we are, deep into the afternoon, as you can see, we still have a full house of people here from both travel operators, tourism agencies, non-governmental organizations, mountaineering associations, and rescue service operators, who are eagerly waiting to hear about new trends in adventure tourism at international market and globally, generally speaking.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for the invite. It's good to be here. Hello, everybody from Seattle, Washington, where the sun is just, oh, I see you in the back. The sun is just starting to rise here, so good morning. Yeah, I'm happy to share some trends with you all. Each year, ATTA, my organization, puts out a adventure travel trends snapshot report where we survey our community of tour operators and ask some questions. So the 2023 report has not yet been released, so I got my hands on some of the raw data for you all and tried my best to make some pretty slides so that I could share with you some of the brand new trends that we're just learning about that will be released in our research library really soon. Can I share some slides with you?
Thank you.
So again, this is my organization, the Adventure Travel. Actually, I should just, can you see that? Can we confirm that you can see? Okay, cool. Yeah, so the Adventure Travel Trade Association is my organization. And just to give you a very brief overview as to who we are and why we were asked to be here, ATTA has been around since 1990. We're the largest global network of adventure travel leaders, and we all share a belief and commitment to sustainable tourism. So besides for all being adventure providers, it's those values around sustainability and responsible travel that really tie us together. So what we're seeing in the trends is a thread of sustainability, and then that's been becoming more and more important. Before the pandemic, we were already seeing this, but it's been especially true since as well. So some of the questions that we asked in the survey is about which trips are trending, which activities, and this is really all based on the perceptions of the tour operators themselves filling out these surveys. So whenever you download these reports, you'll be able to read the methodology and see exactly how many people and everything. But here you can see what the trending high demand trips were. So this has been the trend for a few years. We've been seeing it go in this direction. Custom itineraries being #1 for a few years in a row now. That's really one of the main trends that we're seeing people are asking for more and more. It's nice to see slow travel moving up this list and into the #2 position now. And so, of course, that's unrushed and people having a deeper connection with the place, having more immersion in the communities. Similar to also traveling like a local. And then of course, greener, sustainable itineraries and those are ones that are really intentionally and carefully designed to be environmentally sustainable. So for example, being zero waste or carbon negative or carbon neutral. And then, remote destinations and trails. So really that's something that we do in adventure travel, is trying to help spread the tourism out from those over touristed areas and into the more rural and off the beaten track to help spread that economic opportunity and also help spread the impacts, both negative and positive. These were the perceptions of the motivations of the travelers themselves. And so as you can see, sustainable practices really address what is motivating them to travel. So for example, if they want to go off the beaten path, they're going to need to find areas that are clean and free of litter. Interesting also, while traveling like a local, that tends to be connected to slow travel, people really possibly using public transportation, staying in a place for a longer time. And it's great to see cultural encounters moving up this list as well, which we very much include as part of adventure travel, the definition of which might be a little more broad than you think. Here's some of the activities that were trending. Hiking, trekking, walking. This is always by far the most popular adventure travel activity. As professionals, I'm sure you all know it trends a lot softer than people tend to think when they think adventure. We're not all out there ice climbing and skydiving. It's mostly trekking and cultural experiences, immersions with culture, culinary and gastronomy. We've been seeing that moving up the list for years. Really, really popular to incorporate those food and agritourism elements into your itineraries. This is the first year that cycling electric biking actually moved down a little bit, which was interesting. That one's been getting just more and more popular every year, but this year it actually dropped into the 5th position, which was interesting. But you can see that we've separated out mountain biking and road biking. So if you took the 3 of those together, it's incredibly popular. Really important part of our industry is the cycling community. So we also did a separate report last year with Outside. And so this was a much broader audience and more, well, our community is all the travel trade, but this audience included consumers. And we grouped them into under and over age 45. And you can see that a majority of the younger group, but still more than half of both of the groups would like if their travel spending helped climate. So that's really great to see, because that has been a big debate still of people, questioning whether consumers will actually pay for these sustainable practices or pay more for that. So what this really means for you, for travel businesses, is that to attract more consumers, rise above the competition, you really should be showing the ways that your products are supportive of the climate. So we can see that with all of this consumer interest, our community is responding. Sorry, again, I just took the raw data and turned this into some charts, so I'm laughing at my own skills because, yeah. But you can see here in 2022, we found that 45% of respondents, so again, these would be tour operators, were working toward a sustainability certification. And that this number has increased to almost 70% this year. So that's a pretty rapid rise in those who are looking to get certified sustainable certification. So we also ask about where they're doing that. And there's many different options and companies out there who provide this kind of certification. What we're finding is that there are more buyers who are starting to demand this of their suppliers as well. So for example, some of the cruise companies who do overland tours with operators are now starting to require this. So that's interesting. And then of course in it, I pulled out this one too, I thought was an interesting one about the reductions that our tour operators are taking to become more sustainable. Single-use plastics is the most popular one. You can see that we had 91% of our respondents are eliminating single-use plastics on their tours. And so with the ATTA community, when you're working with our members around the world, it's definitely become an expectation that you wouldn't be handing out those plastic water bottles in the tour van. And then you can also see here some of the other ones. Also trying to eliminate paper and having too many printed things. And then again, moving away from those main tourist areas, the Machu Picchu's of the world, and trying to spread out to some lesser known areas. And then you can see here some of the other ones. So I encourage you all, we have a research library on our website, and you can download these reports for free. And you can see we have a lot of other reports too. Not just about climate, but we recently also came out with one about the complexities of the supply chain, how those buyers and suppliers find each other, how they like to do business together, where they want to find each other. So we've got some really great research out there. Depending on where you're at with your business, from being a startup to really well experienced. You'll find some research that should help you with your strategies and when you're planning your next itineraries as well.
Thank you, Mira. We have been talking about different issues today. So we talked a lot about the education of travel guides, about certification issues and everything. So in order not to be repetitive, and the main focus of our gathering today is actually professional networking. We have very relevant representatives of very relevant agencies and operators. Some of them have been through the ATTA travel trade training. Some of them have already been members of the ATTA. So I would like to ask you to just give us an overview of what does the ATTA membership include, what benefits actually members or partners have, and any other interesting information you can share with us.
Sure, absolutely. Are there any ATTA members in the room there now? I see some. Hello. Thanks for coming. So great to see you and have you here. Okay, let me skip ahead here a little bit. So yeah, we have, let's see, hold on. Let me jump here to some of all right, here's a little bit about the ATTA community. So currently we have over 1,100 business members around the world in about 102 countries. You can see that about half of our community are tour operators, about 56%. Tour operators, DMCs, accommodations. We also have a large amount of media in our community. Those are really highly vetted journalists and content creators and bloggers who all specialize in adventure travel and are really part of our community in order to help get your stories out there in the world. Tourism boards make up about 8% of our community. We also have travel advisors, and then industry partners would be like those product and services for the industry. So technology platforms, insurance providers, things like that. So really it's everybody who makes up the whole ecosystem of the adventure travel world is who's part of our community. Most people join us in order to network with one another. And so, you know, of course, there's the buyer-supplier relationships, and everybody wants to do that to make those international partnerships and do business. But what's really special about our community is also the peer-to-peer engagement that happens. And, you know, working in adventure travel can be a lonely place. We hear this a lot from our members. Maybe they've started a hiking company or a cycling company in a rural area, and it's challenging, and you're facing these challenges often by yourself. And when our community comes together, they find that there's all of these like-minded individuals in the world who really care about what they're doing, are passionate, care about the world, are supporting their communities and their families, and are trying to make a difference. So so a lot of that is this peer-to-peer knowledge sharing that happens, and problem solving together. And so we have online tools for our members where they can connect throughout the year. We do like Zoom meetups, breakout rooms for networking, things like that. We have Adventure Travel News as our news website where people can post their stories, post press releases, and really, you know, you can see what some of your peers in other places are doing. And we address all the hot issues happening in adventure travel there. And then of course we have events. And so our events around the world are places where you can connect with one another. So we do Adventure Connect networking events. That's where I met Alexandra at ITB Berlin this year. So ATTA will put these events on at other big trade shows. So we at like WTM London, ITB Berlin, and shows around the world. And those are usually free networking gatherings, so the adventure people can find each other, especially in those events that are mass tourism. And then we have our own conferences. And so each year we have the Adventure Travel World Summit. That's where our whole community comes together to do business over 3 days. We all get to go on adventures, and then there's like keynote speakers, there's breakout sessions, there's workshops. And there's marketplace one-on-one meetings. And so that this year is taking place in Hokkaido, Japan, in September. And all of our members get steep discounts to our events as well. So a little bit of what like ties our community together. This is our mission. And we really are on this mission along with our whole community to empower the global travel community to protect nature, conserve cultural heritage, and create shared economic value. So those are really the three pillars of our values. That's nature. We obviously need pristine nature in order to continue enjoying it, conserving that cultural heritage, taking care of cultures that we visit, and making sure to share that economic value with everyone. You know, I talked about some of the perceptions right now of sustainability and needing to be able to show what your company is doing. And so ATTA has some tools for our members to do that as well. So in addition to all of this research, resources, and content that we put out there, we also have a program called Neutral Together. It's a conventional carbon offsetting program where most of our members are really small, tiny businesses. And so we have a calculator where you can calculate your carbon footprint, and then you submit it to us, and we aggregate all of our members' footprint, and then we get a bulk discount and we pass that on to you. So we're able to get almost half price than you would have to pay yourself for carbon offsetting. We also have a program called Tomorrow's Air, which does helps support and scale the technology that is doing carbon removal with permanent capture and storage. It's crazy new technology that's out there. It's really incredible. And this program is for both travelers and businesses to help that technology scale. And then we have a partnership with Travelife. Some of you might be familiar with. It's a European company that does sustainability certification. And all of our members get access to all of their training and tools and everything up into a Travelife partner status. So it can save you a lot of money if you're looking to get certified. Like I said before, there's a lot of different options out there. Travelife is one of them. And they're one that we trust and have this partnership with so that our members can get access. So that's kind of just like a very, very brief overview of some of what our members get and how our members network and connect. But, you know, something that we found through the dark times, like through COVID, is just how important your community is and how your community will really carry you through some hard times. Here's the event I was mentioning that's going to be in Japan in September. And I invite you all to come and join us and meet this awesome community from around the world. And again, it's always in a different country. So we have it in Europe the last 3 years, but this time it's going to be in Japan's first one in Asia. We're super excited. And here's just a little bit about some of our membership types. So we do have a free membership. You can all join and sign up today on our website, and that's going to get you access to all of those research reports, including the snapshot that will be released soon, and as well as that report on like the complexities of the supply chain. We also have a professional membership that's for one person. If you're still kind of in the startup mode, it gets you access to all of our courses and resources. And then the business membership is for your whole company. All of your full-time employees get access. It includes all of the research and the educational resources, but then it also includes things like event discounts, press releases on Adventure Travel News, and different ways for you to get brand exposure in the trade and also with consumers. And so, yeah, you can sign up for these. I think we had some discounts available. Alexandra can share more of that with you. But really you get 1 year, you get 1 year, and the price starts at $350 for a year of business membership. The professional membership is less. And then we kind of jumped ahead, Alexandra. I hope that's answering what your question was.
Yes, thank you, Mira. Unfortunately, due to time limits, we have to finish. I would like to thank you and make sure that everybody appreciates you waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. join us at this very interesting, very useful event. And let's hope that one of next ATTA annual events take place in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Thank you.
Yes, please. I'd love to come.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
So Women in Travel was born in 2017 as a social enterprise. We are therefore a commercial company that reinvests any surplus into its mission. Our mission is women economic empowerment using travel, tourism, and hospitality as a force for good. As a key focus and sort of our alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals around gender equity and decent work and reduction of poverty, we are a company that connects diverse, underserved female talent to employment and enterprising opportunity in travel, tourism, and hospitality. Overall, provide education, training, and support to industry, as well as to our sort of beneficiary, so that this talent can be integrated into the workforce, and more generally, so that the industry can become more inclusive and more diverse at the heart. Now, what led me to develop this company is, I guess, sort of 25 years in travel and tourism, and therefore my personal experience, but also an understanding that, you know, the sector is focusing all the time a talent crisis. There is a huge need for skills. And I guess that historically, the sector globally has missed an opportunity to fish from the bigger pond. So we want to make talent available in a more equitable, more diverse way, but also we want to make sure that the industry doesn't miss out on skills that are really important for its well-being and for the industry to thrive in the future.
Thank you. When we talk about travelers, we usually think about their preferences and interest, but we barely, or if ever, think about women and men travelers. Is that important to think about that, to take that perspective into account? And why?
Absolutely. So let me tell you why it's important. First of all, because 80% of family decisions are made by women. So 80% of all households decisions are made by women. Now, this means that it is women in the families, women in communities who decides where we go on holidays, where we spend the money. The woman may not necessarily pay for the holidays when it comes to leisure travel, but it's certainly the woman who decides the destination. Now, what's also very important is that the solo female travel segment is the fastest growing of all the segments sort of across the travel and tourism industry. And in that one, the market was worth 125 female solo traveler. So obviously, if you are a destination in the travel and tourism industry, you want to capture some of the market. The increase of businesses focusing on solo female travelers, on supporting female solo travelers, the increase was 230% over the last 3 years. So, I mean, pandemic aside. So that's why it matters, because women make the decision, women spend the money, and women want to travel, particularly on their own.
Thank you. Does that mean that we need to think about, when creating itineraries, about what women want, and designing the programs? You also work on that. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's very, very important is to understand that, generally speaking, women travelers, I think the first concern is safety. There's no doubt about that. And particularly for certain sort of segment of the women travelers. And remember, we are not just talking about women, we are talking about all issues of intersectionality. So race, faith, all that comes into play when women sort of look at destination where they want to travel, and especially if they are traveling on their own. The other thing to think about is that women, in our experience, but also if you look at the sort of at the trends, are looking for opportunity to enjoy a holiday with purpose. What it means is that they are looking for the values, they are looking for, how their money is being used, the impact that their money is having in the destination. So things such as, where are you staying? Sort of where are you perhaps sort of having your lunches and meals? Who are you using in your supply chain? Is it other women? Is it local company? All of that has a lot of value to women. And in addition to that is the whole point around diversity and authenticity in the stories. So storytelling, you will have heard, I'm sure today, it's now a key topic because it is, we want to hear and we want to know about the stories of a place. And what you find is that historically, this storytelling has been very much focused on one type of story, one type of sort of background, one type of ways to tell the story. And in reality, there is a need to diversify the storytelling product, or there is a need to diversify the tours, therefore, and the activities that are being done at destination. We work in this space through our Day Tour Guiding Academy, which is an on-demand learning platform where we teach women from very diverse background, and anyone can access that platform, to build and develop and narrate stories that speak to them. And I think that is increasingly an important trend because, as I said, people want to they want to be traveler, they want to understand and connect with the place through those stories and those diverse narratives.
Thank you, but we still evidence that we face lack of women guides and women that are into higher position. Usually, I mean, the survey, the assessment that our project conducted showed us that even though, I mean, that's also global issue, I would say, that women represent there is high percentage of women in the travel industry, more than 50%, if I remember correctly, it's 54. Still, those are less paid jobs, let's say traditional, assigned to cooking, embroidery, cleaning, etc. But we are in a need for more women guides, especially in adventure tourism sector. And even though in Bosnia we do have women that are capable and that do have a knowledge and physical strength, they are kind of in a shadow. They're not, I would say, encouraged enough to start their own businesses. So how can we empower more women to start their own businesses and to get into the guiding business? Or
so this is a big it's a big question. It's not, unfortunately, is there are no very quick solution. I think there are elements that are linked to cultural barriers, and those barriers, are not resolved overnight. It takes a lot of education. We find that, female entrepreneurship is a priority on many government agenda, but what tends to happen is that women almost default to entrepreneurship when they have no other ways to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, within the company that they might be working for initially. So then, if I can't do it my way, or if I can do it in a way that allows me to to feel valued, or if I can do it in a way that enables me to juggle my family and my other commitment, then I decide to open my business. And that is not a bad thing per se, but it's a bad thing because it means that women are not necessarily encouraged to become entrepreneur. Now, the main obstacle that we see are access to finance, because women entrepreneurs struggle with accessing finance, given that finance is a very male-dominated world, and sort of it's a lot around, there's a lot about the networking and the people you know and sort of who you trust and so on. And then is also the fact that often with entrepreneurship is technology. And again, technology can sometimes be a barrier to female entrepreneurship when that technology is not readily available, or when sometimes also there is a lack of understanding of how to access that technology. So we go back to the education. I guess that, you know, you were talking about tour guiding. Tour guiding is one of the, if you like, the more immediate way to start a small businesses. The reality is that, you know, tour guiding is something that most women guides do on a freelance basis, and therefore they are self-employed, sort of small entrepreneurs, and then in some cases grow and develop their businesses to, you know, from the kitchen table to the big office. And there is, I think there's, you know, there are ways to encourage it by, as I said, making it easier for women to, first of all, understand sort of what's required. Secondly, to have conversation with possible investor banks and sort of financial institution, and then looking at sort of the technology side. Cultural barriers too, those are not, as I said, those are not easily fixable. They require education and commitment, and it starts at school, it starts with children, really.
Thank you. So to conclude, what would be your key message for, because we have tour operators here, we have mountaineering associations, and a key message for them to employ more women and Thank you.
I think the key message would be to really go and talk to your local community and sort of engage with the communities and the women in those communities who are often also the host. And they are very important to your tourists and traveler because they are the ones that welcome your guest. And to encourage them to get involved and to give them obviously the sort of the tools that are needed to get involved, or to at least have, you know, the initial conversation with them. So to look close by and to also, you know, perhaps engage with the schools and the sort of the younger time, to encourage them perhaps to look at careers that are obvious one.
Very much, Alessandra. Thank you for your time. And
That's okay.
Hope to see you in October in Sarajevo during our conference to talk.
Yeah.
10 minutes is
Definitely. Also,
not enough.
and I said I will be, I have a small presentation that I would be happy to share with everyone. If anyone is interested, I will send it to you to share. Okay?
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.